Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rossology, and today I wanted to do something a little different. Today I'm going to be giving you my top 10 games that left an impact in my life. And these aren't necessarily games that are my favorite, or that I think look the best, play the best, designed the best, whatever. These are games that left an impact in my life that I'm going to remember, that pretty much covers it. Now, I'm making this video for two reasons. One, I want to, and it seems like something really fun to think about and to reminisce. And the second reason, which is the more important reason in my opinion, sometime in the future, after I keep doing YouTube and keep having new experiences, I want to make something like this again. And I want the list to be different, or I want the same games to be on there for different reasons, or I just want to see what happens in the future. So I kind of want to archive this kind of for myself. But without further ado, I'm going to get into it. The last thing I want to say is that the order is based on the order in which I think I played them. So number 1 is the game I played when I was youngest, and 10 is more recent, and they're pretty much in that order. So let's just get started with the first one, which is the original Donkey Kong, the tabletop, the arcade cabinet Donkey Kong. I'm a little too young to have fully experienced arcades in the way that they were meant to, where you go and you play a quarter, you play Street Fighter. The way that I had arcades were you put a token in and you play a little game and you get tickets to, get a little prize. But the 80s were the big arcade format. And when my dad and my stepmom got married, at their house, she had a version of Donkey Kong. I can still remember going down there all the time at night. You reach your hand into the little coin slot to hit the trigger to give yourself more credits. So this is on the list as my experience in arcade games, and I think it's a really good experience to have, so that's why it has that spot. After that, we move on to Pokemon Yellow. Pokemon Yellow is on there for a couple reasons. One, it was my first experience to any kind of RPG at all. And two, it's what really introduced me to the Pokemon series. I'm a huge fan of the anime, the movies, the cards, the video games. I've been a fan for a long time, and Pokemon Yellow was my first introduction to that. And I have kind of a funny story with it. So, in my elementary school, I lost the cartridge at some point. A couple years later, some friends and I went back to our elementary school, little playground, walk around, there's basketball hoops we went to play. And I see in the wood chips, little yellow cartridge. Oh, what's that? Pick it up, dust it off. It says Ross written on the back. It's my fucking cartridge of Pokemon Yellow from how many years ago, and it still worked. And I know it's mine because I lived in a small town and went to a small elementary school. No one else was named Ross. So that was really cool to see. I wish I still had that cartridge. Unfortunately, there's a whole nother story as to what happened to that, but Pokemon Yellow easily makes that list for me. After that, we move on to Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside. And in all honesty, you could just classify this spot as everything made by Humongous Games, because I played the crap out of all of them. But Pajama Sam really held a special place in my heart. We even played No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside on the channel with Adam, and that was so much fun to do. There was a huge part of my life where, when I was younger, I played a lot of computer games. We didn't have a lot of systems. I think I had a Sega at that point. I might have had my PS1, I don't remember. But I rented games from the computer lab or from the library at my town. My mom would get me some games, friends, whatever. We played a lot of computer games, and Pajama Sam always stuck out to me as the most fun. The characters are fun, the dialogue is interesting, so that'll always hold a special place for me. Before I move on, I just want to say I'm sorry if you hear the chair squeaking, and ignore that. I cut myself while shaving, so fuck it. Number 4, I could technically put a 4-way tie here, because the games aren't similar at all in how they play, but the reason they're on list is the same. But the one that wins overall is 007 Nightfire for the PS2. One of my best friends' name is Jake, and we've been best friends since about 6th grade, and we've known each other since we were born. And a lot of times when we hang out, we tend to play games. And the 4 that would have made this list are Nightfire, We Play, specifically in We Play, the minigame Tank Wars, specifically. I got my list right here, that's what you see me keep looking at. Halo 2, and Infamous for the PS3. And those are games that we sunk hundreds, if not thousands of hours into, because we would just play it and talk and have a good time. But 007 Nightfire wins that spot for me because that's a game we still talk about and still want to play now and still play when we can. So that'll always hold a place for me. Now, I know I said in the beginning that these games aren't necessarily my favorite, but this number 5 spot actually is my favorite game of all time, or at least my favorite game series, and that's God of War 2. The reason God of War is on there is because ever since I was a kid, I've been infatuated with Greek mythology. It's always just, it's scratched an itch, and I love it. So when God of War came out and it explores into Greek mythology, of course, I was all over it. And the gameplay is great. The stories are great because when they follow Greek mythology, they follow it well. And when they make their own material and their own stories, they do that well. So there's really not a reason for me to dislike this game, or to dislike the whole series rather, but God of War 2 is the one that I think I spent the most time on, and the one that I remember the most fondly. After that, we move on to Fortune Street for the Wii. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a mix between Monopoly and Mario Party, but it has a stock market. Imagine you're playing Monopoly, but there's a stock market. And that's pretty much what it is. I have a group of friends that we've dubbed ourselves the Fortune Street 4 because we always play Fortune Street together whenever we can. And we just play it. Whenever we play it, we tend to play for 12 hours that day because we'll play a map, and one map might take us 5, 6, 7 hours. Because if you have people that are competent and know how the game works, the game can last for a really long time. So Fortune Street is a game that I still love playing today with those friends. Number 7, we move on to Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Skyrim is a game that I actually bought for my old laptop way back when. It's actually still sitting over there. And it couldn't really run it, and I had to run on low settings, low graphics, just it looked like poo, but I still put 70 hours into it. And when I got this beast of a machine, my computer here, I logged another couple hundred more hours into it. It's just a game that I love to get into. It's one of the rare games that really makes me want to kind of completionist it. I've got the Daedra artifacts, and the leader of every faction I can be. I don't know. It's just a super fun game that I really want to play as much as possible. The next 2 games are on the list for kind of weird reasons, and you'll see when I talk about them. The first one is The Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable is a game that I've played with a friend, I've watched YouTubers play, but the main reason it's on this list is because my old roommate, Adam, who you've seen on the channel before, we wrote a play called The Great Mundane Life of Gregory, and we were even lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to get that play produced at a local playhouse. And that was a life-changing experience, to be able to have something you create fully manifested all the way through. It went from concept to working on it to being done to getting produced. That's crazy. And the play is based on the Stanley Parable, at least to some regards. While Stanley goes to work and all of his coworkers are there and the day kind of repeats itself, you know, once you find an ending, the day starts over. Well, in Gregory's life, that's kind of what happens, except when he wakes up at his house, his wife isn't there. And that's what kind of sets off the chain of reactions of him not being comfortable in his house. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Stanley, so you named him Gregory. There's actually another story in that, and I'll save that story for later as to why he's named Gregory. It's not the greatest story in the world, but I think it's kind of funny. But I'm going to move on. Next game is a game that I've actually never played, and I find that very interesting, but it left such a huge impact I couldn't leave it off of this list, and that's To the Moon. To the Moon is a game that I watched Markiplier play, and a couple years ago there was a time in my life when I wasn't super happy, and the only thing I did consistently to, you know, be happy or just get some enjoyment or just distract myself was I watched YouTubers, and Markiplier was one that I got really into, and during his To the Moon series, I realized that that's when I want to be a YouTuber. And I really feel like that's what set my goals and my ambitions apart. I feel like if I became a YouTuber for other reasons or through different means, I might have different goals or different morals. Right now, my whole goal is to build a community, to build a guild of people that are together and happy and strong. If I was just doing YouTube for any other reasons, I might not give a shit. I might do unsavory things just to get numbers. And To the Moon is a game that I feel like really drove me towards where I am now, and it's a game I want to play on the channel at some point. Right now, I don't feel like it's the right time, but at some point I really will. Same thing with the Stanley Parable. I really feel like right now is not the right time to play the game, but I'm confident that there will be. Before we get into the last spot, I do want to throw a couple honorable mentions of games that I really liked, but I feel like they just couldn't make it in the list. And those games are the original Sonic for the Sega, let's see, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, what else do we have on here? Sky Odyssey and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And if you look up Sky Odyssey, just don't judge it by how it looks. Just understand it's another couch game that me and some friends have great experiences with. And we bought it for 2 pennies. Literally 2 cents. And I bought it from GameStop. So that's kind of crazy. But last but not least, number 10 is a tie again, and I'm going to give it overall to Psychonauts, but it's a tie between that and Undertale. I put this at the list because they're games that I played for the channel that really left an impact for me, and Psychonauts I'm still playing now, and it's one of the first games that I'm getting people actively commenting and having discussions, and I feel like really enjoying. And Undertale, it kind of had that, but Undertale was when I first felt like my channel was driving in a great direction. I felt like I was learning everything that I needed to learn, and I was learning quickly, and during Undertale, I feel like everything kind of came together. I even think I titled one of the videos, My Best Video Ever, because I was so proud of it. But, guys, that's my list of top 10 games that left an impact on me. Some of them are a little weird and a little different, but think about your list, and you're probably going to have some games that are a little unorthodox too, and if you want to, leave it in the comments. I would love to read about games that really left an impact on you guys too. I would honestly love it. But until next time, guys, I want to say thank you all so much for deciding to spend a little bit of time with me today, and I'll see you next time.